Hey, what's up fam? Welcome back to the Uncle Bogator channel. In this video, we're going to talk about what it was like working for Harley Davidson and how it almost cost me my passion for motorcycles. This is a little bit different for me. I don't do a lot of talking head videos. I've done them in the past. I've done a couple, even this year. But this is something that has been on my mind since over the summer when I started thinking about these things a little bit more. I do want to put some disclaimers on first, before I start really getting into the details of the video. This is my own experience working for Harley Davidson. That shouldn't be taken as a testimony for everybody who has ever worked for Harley and everybody who currently works there and everybody who's going to work there. It's just my own personal experience and how I went through things working at a Harley Davidson dealership. I also want to say this is not meant to bash a dealer. In fact, I think the dealership that I worked for was probably one of the best ones I've ever been to, honestly. The atmosphere, as a patron, the atmosphere is lively, it's upbeat, always something going on. It's very warm, welcoming. So this video isn't meant to talk any kind of trash about that dealership whatsoever. It's just some experiences that I felt maybe you guys out there who have worked for a dealership feel the same way. A lot of people ask me, since I moved from Tampa over to the east side of the state, hey Mike, you gonna work for Harley over there? Hell no, absolutely not. And I'm gonna get into some of the reasons why here. It was a one-time 9-month ordeal out of my 47 years of life. Definitely not something I'm pursuing like actively, like I have to work at a Harley dealership. Hey, real quick, we're gonna interrupt this video. I know everybody's eyes are glued to it. We got 2 days, 3 days, a couple days left, 2 or 3 days left on the pre-orders for the Swamp King t-shirts. I know these aren't for everybody. We've actually sold more than I thought we would sell. So these are all pre-orders. After these end in a couple days, I'm gonna send the order over to the printer. We're gonna have these things printed. Maybe that takes a week, I'm not sure. Get them all in and then ship them out to you as soon as I can. So get on there, get yours today. Now back to the video. It's gonna come in left or right. So as you guys know, if you've been around a while or if you kind of browse through the old catalog, I started working at Harley Davidson about 2 weeks after I got terminated from my last job. Initially, I'm going to be transparent, initially I applied there because I thought I could get in pretty easily and I would use that as a placeholder until I found a regular job. But when I got there, I actually never applied for another job the entire time I worked at Harley Davidson. Because for the first few months, it was great. I loved it. When I first got there, man, that experience was just to be able to put on the bar and shield every day, you know. I know it's hokey, and all you Suzuki guys out there, it was really cool to me. It's like, hey, I know the dealership is owned by an individual or an LLC or whatever, but just to say that I represented the brand, that felt just awesome. Getting up every morning, you know, putting on that shirt, Harley Davidson, riding my Harley into work. It just felt cool. You know what I mean? It's like as a kid, I felt like a 10-year-old boy, you know, going to work. And in that stage of me working there, I didn't know anything about selling the motorcycles. I'll get more into the selling piece of it here in a minute. But there was like this feeling of, hey, I've got this bar and shield on. People are coming in, they're looking at bikes or they're just being around Harleys, and it was fun just to talk to them, and there was camaraderie, and there was no pressure because I just gotten there. Nobody expects the new guy to do anything, right? Kind of leads me into my next point. Great segue here. Because I was new, I was kind of expected, you know, new guys are expected, hey, sell a couple, sell 2 or 3, whatever the number is, throw a number out. This month, you know, as you learn, shadow some people, learn the ins and outs. Well, my first month, February of 2023, I sold 11 motorcycles, which it isn't, I mean, it's not top of the world, but for a brand new guy, that's pretty freaking good. And a lot of people noticed that I did a good job doing that. Now, I do want to asterisk that piece of it by mentioning that I have been in some sort of a sales role since 2002. And what I've learned over time is that it doesn't matter what you're selling, really. If you know how to build relationships with people, know how to find, you know, mutual interest and kind of work your product or your service or whatever it is into the conversation, it doesn't really matter what the thing is that you're selling. So it wasn't like I came in there with zero sales experience. It was asked to sling motorcycles. I had a good foundation in salesmanship already. So yeah, I rolled in there the first month, sold 11 bikes. You know, everybody was impressed, and Obviously, I felt good about myself being the new guy and slinging 11 bikes. You know what I mean? I was number 3 behind the 2 top sales ladies that have been there for years. So I felt good about myself. And what is the old saying? It might not even be an old saying, but it's a saying. The reward for great work is more work. Now, I've been in leadership roles through my sales journey for 2007. I think I got my first leadership role. So I went from that salesperson from 2002 to 2007 to the sales leader, the sales manager. And it turns out I'm pretty good at that job. You know, not all coaches can play. Just turns out that I could play and I could coach. That became like really my passion for a long time in the sales environment. I loved being the guy in charge. I loved having all of the weight of a team and a location on my shoulders. I loved taking people that I worked with, developing them, and even learning from them, you know, a lot of the time, learning little tricks here and there. And developing them into people that could be promoted or leave the company and go do something else. That is my forte. That's something that I really enjoyed doing. Now, I know that when I applied to Harley Davidson as a salesperson, I was leaving that behind. I got the job I applied for. I own that. So, again, everything in here is just my own experience, and it's nothing that I didn't ask for, kind of. So all that good work in February led to what then? If good work is rewarded with more work. We had an inventory manager at the time that I worked there. And at the beginning, she was actually transitioned into another role within the dealership. So all of the management staff, the sales management staff, GM, assistant GM, sales manager, I guess they unanimously decided that I would be a great fit for that role. Now, the inventory manager job prior to me was a one-person full-time job. So they had a little twist on there. And I understand where they were coming from, but they wanted me to do this full-time job and sell motorcycles. And I thought, okay, cool. You know, let me try to do both. They did give me a little salary to do the inventory manager job, which was great. But I also had the same expectations, the same sales expectations as the salespeople who didn't have another job. At first, they sold it to me as like, hey, you know what? We think this job can be, you know, taken down to a couple hours a day. That leaves you the rest of the day for sales. And I thought, okay, so the salary makes up for it. I get it. But no, there's a lot of days where the inventory piece of it took the entire day. You know what I mean? So I had a full-time job and another full-time job all inside of one full-time schedule. So yeah, the shiny of wearing the bar and shield and being all giddy going to work, it kind of wore off real quick. I had a lot of pressure. Some of it was internal. I put a lot of pressure on myself. You know, there's a lot of days after a while where I thought, man, I have to get in here and knock this inventory out fast so that way I have time to meet the minimum expectation of phone calls, to meet the minimum expectation of greets on new people, and to try to sell these bikes that had the same minimum expectation as the regular salespeople did. And you know, a lot of times if I wasn't making that, I never hit 11 motorcycles again, by the way, in those 9 months. Anywhere from 6 to 8, you know, 1 month I hit 4, I think, which again, you know, internally, objectively, I thought this isn't too bad considering I'm doing a whole ass full-time job and I'm selling motorcycles on top of it. But, you know, I was coached as if I needed to sell more motorcycles, and, you know, I was just tired. And when I hurry up, you know, I would move 30, 40 motorcycles a day, get them all lined up, taking pictures, moving them in and out. By the time I got done with that was 5 or 6 hours worth of work, a lot of days. Some days it was shorter, some days it was a lot longer, but on average between 4 and 6 hours is what I would spend on inventory. And I was just tired by the end of that, especially in the summer months. You know, I would get worn out moving all those bikes. I smelled bad because I'd be sweaty going in and out all day, helmet on, helmet off, etc. And so yeah, that made the motorcycles kind of become a topic of contention, really. I stopped viewing motorcycles as this passionate thing that I got to do every day and I got to ride and deal with every day. And it became this, it's just a thing. It just became a widget. It just became whatever I sold before. You know, I sold cars, I sold cell phones, trailers, whatever. It just became a thing. And the last thing I wanted to do after moving 30 to 40 motorcycles every single day, the last thing I wanted to do was ride them when I didn't even want to look at a motorcycle when I got home. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And that's not just exclusive to me. I mean, whoever does that kind of job, if it's a full-time job or whatever, whoever does that work, they're going to be faced with some of those same challenges, and maybe they handle it better than I do. I don't know. But for me, it was move a shit ton of bikes in 4 to 6 hours, hurry up and try to sell some bikes and kick myself in the ass if I didn't meet these minimum goals I didn't think were right. And then get home and then what? Ride motorcycles again? Hell no. I just didn't feel like it. I think a lot of you can understand where I'm coming from. The other piece is I felt like you have to really love being at a dealership in order to work at a dealership. Like that has to be like your lifeblood almost, not just the way you make money. Like you have to just want to be there. And I say that because look up your local motorcycle shops. It doesn't have to be Harley. It can be anything. A lot of them are closed on Sundays and Mondays. That gives a dealership 5 days to really sling as many motorcycles as they can in 2 days where you're guaranteed everybody's off. Don't know that I would necessarily have that kind of schedule. I think that's kind of shooting yourself in the foot for potential sales. The dealership I worked at and many others out there was open 7 days a week. But because of that, 100% of the sales staff is required to work both days on the weekend, every single weekend without exception, unless you're on vacation. And I'll get into that piece a little bit later, the vacation piece. Every single weekend, both days of the weekend, no exceptions except vacation. I don't know, man. At first, when they gave me, hey, here's what your schedule looks like, for the night, I was excited. I had a new job. I get to wear bar and steel, whatever. Sure, no problem. But after a while, I started getting like, damn, man, this sucks. I didn't see any of my friends for 9 months. I never got to hang out with my wife, my kids, nobody for 9 months. Could have quit anytime. I know, I can already hear it in my ear. It just wears you down. My 2 days off were Tuesday and Friday. What are you going to do on a Tuesday and Friday? It was pretty lonely. I sat at home a lot. I didn't even go out and ride much on my days off while I worked at the dealership because, like I said before, I finally get a day away from the motherfuckers, motorcycles. I'm not going to look at them. And again, maybe somebody could have taken that a little bit better than me, but that's the way I took it. But the vacation thing, I want to touch on that a little bit. And again, this isn't bad-mouthing a dealership. This is my experience and how I view things. I keep putting this disclaimer in here because I think it's important. I get being motivated as a business owner, and you want your business to maximize sales, right? No matter what business you're in, you're selling. Your business is selling something. Well, there's no money. You're selling a service, you're selling an idea, you're selling a product, you're selling something. I get it. So your focus being on, being present and doing that, I understand. But you get 5 days of PTO, vacation time, whatever, after you've been there 1 year. And that's a mix of sick time and vacation time. 5 total days after 1 year. So in your first year, you're just expected to be there. I don't know, man. I mean, I coming out of the industries I've come out of, since I was 18 years old, the Marine Corps, I got 30 days a year of leave. Every job I've had since the Marine Corps has been 3 or 4 weeks per year right off the bat. And maybe they were too generous with it. I don't know, but it just seems... you read this PTO policy and it's like, what are we in? 1850? What's going on here? It feels so archaic. And for a company to brag about taking care of your people, it's like, man, this is a big, you don't value my time with family and friends at all. And the way they'll spin it, the way a sales manager will spin it is, well, a good salesperson will want to be here. Oh, no, yes, but a well-balanced person will also want to know that, hey, this weekend maybe I work both days, for 2 weeks maybe I work 1 day. A good salesperson is also a balanced salesperson. I don't think that existed where it was. So yeah, a combination of never having the weekend off or even 1 weekend day off. And you could call out sick, but were you get in trouble or not? And the fact that there's just no PTO time to speak of at all. It wore you out. And then your days off that you did have, those random ass weekdays that you had off, inevitably the customer that you're trying to work with is only available on your day off, in the middle of it, noon, 1. So you can't even make plans on your day off because you know you're going to have to go into work anyway. Because if you don't, either somebody's going to take the sale or you're going to have to split the sale. And when you're already working for a little bit of commission off of whatever gross you make on the bike, you feel like you're compelled, like I have to go in to make this deal. I have to make this money. And we all need to make money. We all need a livelihood and to support our families. But, living under that feeling of, I have to be there right now. I can't take this time for myself or I'm going to miss out. I don't know. It's a very bad feeling. And so then the motorcycle becomes even further from the pleasure. It moves through the item of contention to now you're like, fuck these things, man. They're making me take time away from myself and my family. Anyway, that's my experience on it. Again, like I said. Now, with that, I want to say that I know the video is negative. It sounds really negative, right? And I had these asterisks, about how it wasn't a terrible place. It's just these things are how they interacted with, my vibe. The dealership, the people at the dealership were great, man. I made some great friendships with people that I even got a phone call the other night. I still talk to people from there. I think the management team, great people. I really do. It's just some of these things are just feel outdated. I feel like I was asked too much of me. I don't feel like I had any kind of balance at all. Now, the other asterisk that I will add is that I don't think it's exclusive to Harley Davidson. I think this is just dealerships in general. The attitude that you need to live and breathe sales and this dealership in order to make any kind of a living. I don't think that's Harley Davidson. And I clearly don't think it's just a dealership that I worked at. I think that's just dealerships. Because I knew that 2002 to 2003 when I worked for a Dodge dealership, and now in 2023 when I worked for the Harley Davidson dealership, it was the exact same. Here you are 21 years apart, and the Dodge dealer was in Arizona and this one was in Florida. So 21 years apart and two completely different regions of the country, but it's the exact same story. Like nothing has changed. People want to ask, why is there a revolving door? Salespeople are a revolving door. Well, it's because nothing's ever changed. The whole world, the whole workplace has changed over the last several decades, but not dealerships. Pounding out cold calls. They say it's not cold calls, but it's cold call. Pounding out cold calls. Beating people up when they come to the door. Not leaving their side. You hand them off, whatever. You got other salespeople being snakes. Sometimes that's very rare. Taking your stuff from you and never asking the right questions. It's the same story. It's been the same story since dealerships existed. So would I ever work for a Harley Davidson dealership ever again? You would think the answer would be easy. You would think I would just be like, hell no. But who knows? I might. As a salesperson, man, things would have to be pretty dire in order for me to want to do that again. But I could see working for a dealership if they needed an inventory manager that did not have 2 full-time jobs. I could see doing that. I could see actually even an hourly job, like driving to get people's bikes and bringing them to the dealership. Things like that. Salesperson? No, I don't think I want to do that. So you guys who ask all the time, hey Mike, you working at Harley Davidson over there? Not just no. Hell no. That's going to wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for coming along. Don't be too negative in the comments. I just delete those comments anyway, so they're just a waste of breath. But I love you. Thanks for coming along. And until next time, we'll see you later.